Yes, she's fixed, of course she is. But before we get into the mechanical side of this video, just a couple of admin points that I wanted to make before we get into it. Firstly, you're all absolutely right in the comments after last time. I shouldn't be using all these chemicals and things like degreasers without wearing gloves. And I wish I had done. I've got all dry, flaky skin coming off my fingers and hands now. It's not big and it's not clever. Wear gloves. Thanks guys for pointing that out. Secondly, as you'll all see fairly quickly into this video, I've refitted the GTRO gearbox from FNEO. I needed to do that just so I could do a review of the gearbox. Several people have asked for one. And then we'll get back to a refit of the E-Assist, which I know several of you want to see. So there's that one coming up too. But for now, let's get to today's video of me fixing these chain tubes. After last time, I hurt my back bending down, pulling all those bits off of Trinny, so as you can see today, I've put her up on the stand. This is the first time I've used that stand. I had this stand for the old two-wheeled bike that I used to ride. Never even really thought about whether it would fit Trinny up there or not, but it does. As you can see on her frame, I've put her on that cross beam there. That worked quite well, and as you can see, she's up at shoulder height for me now, which is very good. The only thing that's changed since you last saw her when we were pulling bits off is I've refitted the FNEO drive. You've seen that all before. If you haven't seen it, I'll link the video in the description below and also up in the top right hand corner there. And you can go and watch the video of how I fit the FNEO drive onto the Trike. So that's all refitted, and now today we've just got to finish the rest of it. Right, I'm going to have to do this bit quick because it's just started raining. You can see some moisture on there. But so we got the new bolt for the idler wheel that came through a day or so later. So we've got to refit the idler. There's the brand new chain tubes. Now, I've had an idea about this. This is heat shrink tubing, and it's quite flexible. Remember the old flexible bits? These flexible bits on the old pipe. Well, I'm going to try using this. So I'm going to heat shrink this on at the end of the tubes, as well as probably putting a cable tie to hold it securely, but then this will be flexible enough for the folding Trike, hopefully. We'll see how that works. If not, we can always pull it off again. And then obviously we've got to put the nice clean chain back on. Right, let's get an umbrella up to keep me from getting wet in the rain, and we'll make a start. So for those of you wondering about when I said let's put an umbrella up so I can work underneath it, I've got this nice big canopy I can put over myself. So yeah, it's a bit drizzly today, but no better day for sorting out the Trike, getting her back on the road again. Right, let's get this camera set up and then we'll work on the idler wheel first. So as I say, got this new idler bolt came through. Quite difficult to find the exact bolt that you need, but found one in the end. Had to buy a packet of 4, but at least I've got some spares for next time, eh? Right, that's got to go on there. So as well as the bolt, we mustn't forget that we've got these washers and spacers that have got to go on. So there's one washer on the front, just there. And then we have a washer and a spacer on the back. That fits so much easier. That fits so much easier than the old bent one was coming out. Right, that's that done. Next up, tubes. So, there we have the old tubes, from front to back. And there's my nice new tubes that we've now got to replicate those, particularly these joins. Okay. So when these arrived in the post, they'd obviously come off a coil when they were made, and they'd been coiled up in the post as well. So I had to straighten them. And that was, as it turned out, fairly easy. I left them on the radiator indoors for a couple of days whilst I was waiting for that idler bolt to appear, and that's the end result. They're fairly straight, I think. I mean, obviously they're not dead straight, but they're certainly straight enough for my purposes. So whilst we're looking at the tubes, there's also this thing, this spring mechanism that went behind the idler wheel. Yeah, I think I'm going to try something else rather than put that back on. So when we get to that point, I'll show you what I'm going to do, but for now, yeah, that's gone. Right then, I'm going to start on the bottom tube. Ignore this, that's the foot on the tripod for the camera. Thankfully, the measurements on this are not critical. A centimetre here or there is not going to matter. So all we've got is the two ends of the pipe, like that, into this heat shrink tubing. I want them to be in there about, oh, I don't know, 2 or 3 centimetres, an inch maybe. And then we're going to heat shrink onto there. How are we going to heat shrink? I don't have a heat gun, so we're going to try and use that. We'll have to be quite gentle, won't we? It's supposed to be a gentle heat, but let's give it a go. Well, my fingers are getting hot. Tell you what, it's pretty good. It's stuck on there well and truly. Let's put that out of the way a minute. That really is stuck on there quite well. Right, let's do the other side. Right, I'm happy with that as far as it goes. Just let that cool down, and then I'll put some cable ties on it. So, there we go, that's the finished article. And it bends in the right place. So that's the bottom tube done. Now we'll do the top tube. Let that cool down, and we'll put some cable ties on that one. Job done. And yes, your eyes aren't deceiving you, I've taken the idler wheel off again, because I just remembered that I bought a hanger for the return chain tube, and that hanger looks like that, but it has to go on the outside of the idler wheel, so that's going to be the first thing to go on the bolt, and then we need another little spacer washer for that. So apart from taking it off to fit that hanger, it also gives me a chance to put a little bit of copper grease on the back of the idler there, just to keep that running nice and smoothly. I'll pop the spacer on and then we're good to go, I think. There, done. So apologies if the trike wobbles around a bit with this, but there's not a lot I can do on the stand. But there we go, done. Right, onto the chain tubes. So you wouldn't believe how hard this bit is to get on camera, but all I'm going to do is feed the chain into the chain tube and wait for it to come out the bottom. And eventually it pops out the bottom end. That's the bottom tube, which is also the longest one, so hopefully that's the hardest one done. So with the bottom tube threaded, we can bring the chain around the FNO drive, like so. Make sure we've got plenty through. So that's the chain threaded at the back round the rod off, and at the front round the FNO and through this lower tube. Now you can see where the hanger comes in now. That is going to attach onto there, so that will hold the lower tube in place just there. The only thing we need to make note of when we're attaching this lower tube is at the moment it's loose and it can slide backwards and forwards. Now obviously we need this bendy bit to be level with the join in the trike, the point at which the trike folds. So I'm going to have to clip it somewhere there, and then the chain tube, the lower chain tube, will be in place. The hanger came with its own little cable ties, might as well use those. That's not bad. Make it nice and tidy. So I've threaded the top tube at the rear. Now this is the problem one, because just turn that a bit, because this is the one that was held with that spring to stop it going through the idler wheel. Like so, it would just go in there like that. So I've now got to come up with something to stop this going backwards and forwards. Now as luck would have it, this tube, with the chain going round the idler wheel and coming straight out the roll-off, you can see lays on this white piece of the frame almost flush. So there's the front part of the chain tube, just to use as an example. So I've come up with these 16mm P-clips that fit around there like that, and when that's nipped together there is no way that that tube can slide up and down that rubber P-clip. So I'm going to use them in some fashion to stop my chain tubes from sliding backwards and forwards. So I've decided to put the P-clip in here. Yeah, I think that's positioned fairly well. Doesn't really matter where it goes along that frame, I suppose, but first things first, let's do up the P-clip with a cable tie to get it to hold tightly together. So with that P-clip, you can just about see, I think, I put a cable tie on the P-clip to hold that together. And I'm now going to cable tie the P-clip onto the frame. Careful not to get any of the brake or gear cables in, because they all run through this area. Now, before I pull it tight, get it in the right place. Yeah, that chain tube is not going backwards or forwards at all. Let's trim that. Now if I thought it was necessary, I could put a second clip further back here, but I really don't think it is. I think that's enough. And it's a good line as well. I'll show you the line in a minute, once we get the job done. Well, I dare say the camera didn't catch that, but I managed to thread it through. Now we've just got to bring it all the way down to here, where we're going to join it back together again. So I've taken the tension out of the chain now, and also taken half a dozen links out of the chain, because the F-Neo drive has a smaller chain ring than the E-Assist. So, oh, it's a bit fiddly. Put the quick link back together, pull it tight. There we go. Yeah, that's together on both sides. Now we've just got to put the tension back in it and make sure it's all in the right guides and places. So the top tube at the front has this like cord linkage that's bolted onto the frame under here. That then has a clip onto the tube there. Now that, to me, allows too much movement in that front tube. I'm not at all happy with that. If I show you the problem with that, the biggest problem I have with that top tube is, as I say, the flexibility. If you look down here, as long as it's focused, if you look here, with that flexibility, the top tube there can go into the idler wheel. Now, given that all the forward motion on that tube should pull it the other way, it's not too big a problem. I don't know, I'll leave it to move like that to start off with, and if I find that's a problem, then I'll put some more ties on it. So, cable tie on this one then. Let's see if we can be clever about this. Get the cable tie in the middle, inside. Oh, would you believe it? This cable tie is too thick. I was hoping to use these grey ones throughout, but they won't go through the hole. I have to find a smaller cable tie. Damn. Right, I found a smaller black one. I like using those grey ones because they're good and sturdy, but obviously a smaller cable tie is thinner. Hopefully this one won't have too much work to do anyhow, but trying to work out how to do this so it's on the air. We've got it. I want the actual clasp of the cable tie to be underneath the tube, if you see what I mean. Oh, terrible stuff to try and get on camera, this is. Right. Oh, see what I mean? They just snap. Now I think it snapped in the right place anyhow, but yeah, it did. As luck would have it, it's actually snapped off and left it plenty tight. So there we go. I don't know about that. I really don't. I mean, does that look right to you? Oh well, stop worrying about it. We'll see how it goes. There's a couple of little bits that people pointed out to me after the first video where I was pulling the trike apart that I forgot to do. The first of which is to measure the chain to see whether it stretched too much. I'm going to do that now, but obviously it would have been easier to do it before I cleaned the chain, because if the chain had have stretched then it's pointless cleaning it. So we're going to do it now. For those of you that haven't seen it before, this is the chain measuring tool. And the idea of this is that you drop it in any link on this end. So we'll drop it in a link there. Now, when I drop this on the chain, if this little tooth at this end goes through the chain, then the chain is stretched too much. And as you can see, it doesn't. As an example, if I drop it over the back, what would happen? It would go like that, and then you'd need a new chain. So these tools are well worth having. Try and get into the habit of each time you clean or oil your chain, just get this out and have a look. These are, I don't know, £1 or two, a couple of dollars off of eBay. Well worth having. Don't worry, that's gone behind the chain. And the second thing that was raised in the comments after the last video was that I didn't lube the chain. Well, I'm going to do that now. Yes, after I degreased it and cleaned it and dried it, I should have lubed it straight away. Hold my hands up to that one, I actually forgot to do it. So the lube I'm going to use is this. Again, it's from MkII, but like I say, I'm not sponsored by them. They just happen to make some fairly good quality products. As you can see, this is a ceramic lube. I have no idea what that means. There are so many different types of lube out there. All I know is I spent a little bit more money rather than just finding the cheapest one I could. And it also says on there, if I can get it to focus, as you can see, it says for use in wet conditions. Pretty much that does for all seasons in the UK, but particularly at this time of the year in the winter. So having thoroughly cleaned and degreased this chain, that basically means that each of these little joins around the chain now has no lubrication in it whatsoever, and each of those is a little hinge or bearing, and I'm going to have to lube each one. So I'm going to go round the chain, all 4 meters of it, and put a drop or two on each of these joins. Then when I wipe off the excess, I'll make sure that I get some lube down the sides of the chain as well, so by the time I'm finished the whole chain will be covered in the lube. Let's make a start. Right, well, I think that's about it. But a couple of fun facts about this ceramic lube from MkII. The first one is, it smells of cherries, which is really quite nice, but probably unnecessary. And the second is, apparently it comes with an ultraviolet light sensitive dye applied to it, so that you can see where you've put the oil and where you haven't. And it also comes with this little UV torch, which as far as I can see, unless you're fixated on putting your oil on your chain in a dark room, is absolutely useless. So, MkII, what's the game? because I can't see what that's supposed to do. And I'm certainly not going to put the trike in a dark room just so you can see that. Hey ho. Right, so with the trike now off the stand, what I'm looking for is to see that the trike is going to fold correctly around those two flexi pipe bits. You can see immediately the top tube is not in the right position with that, but because of that flexible cord, it does shift back like that, so that the flexi pipe is now in the right position. For those of you that haven't seen this before on a Scorpion trike, it's just on a quick release mechanism to fold. So we can undo that clamp there. Underneath both these tubes is a little clip, so we just pop that and you can see the frame comes apart. It goes down like that. Then let me move the camera back a bit. So then with the quick release undone, the back wheel folds over the front like so. And I'm happy to report that both of these flexible tubes there and there have flexed in the right place, allowing the trike to fold. So that all looks good. Yeah, happy with that. All that remains now is to take her out for a test ride. So after all that then, is it working? I'm quite happy to report, yes, it's all working really, really well. The chain tube's absolutely fine, even the wobbly one on the top, absolutely fine. It's staying well away from that idler wheel. The front bottom one is a little bit annoying at the moment. YouTube? Yes, mate. What's the channel? Tim's Trike Trips.
Tim's Trike Trips?
Yeah. Okay. You'll forget it in 10 minutes.
You know what? No, if you're gonna, I like to watch these videos and see what it's like.
So I got interrupted then by a couple of lads who are interested in the channel. I can't remember where I was. I think I was talking about the chain tubes. So the bottom tube is playing up a little bit, but I don't think it's anything big. Let me just stop and show you that. See how it's gone out of line? And I want it to be in like that. So I'm going to have to put a cable tie in to hold that in so it stays in line with the rest of it. Because otherwise, as I'm riding, it jiggles and then it pops out like that. And that's no good, is it? But other than that little alignment problem, no problems at all. One thing that I am surprised about is how quiet it is. I had no idea how noisy my trike had become, but now I've sorted out all the tyres and the chain line. It's just so much quieter, and I'm really happy with that. Sad to say that I'm also happy with the FNEO drive at the moment. I'd gotten used to the e-assist noise, the whine from the e-assist motor, and now I've taken that off and put the FNEO drive on, I notice just how quiet it is. And that's a bit disappointing really, because that means I'm going to have to get used to the e-assist whine again when I put that back on. Oh dear. So that's it for this one then, everyone. If you've enjoyed this little two-part foray into my world of trike mechanics, then let me know in the comments below. But also, would you mind hitting that like button down below, the old thumbs up? It does wonders for my channel, really does, when people click that button. If you're new to the channel, then please think about subscribing. I promise it's not always mechanics. It's very often me out on some longer rides and touring on this wonderful machine. But for whatever reason you're here, guys, thanks for being here, thanks for clicking on that thumbnail, and thank you for bearing with me to the end. and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thanks then. Ta-da.